And part of our football season is fantasy football. I had my draft this last Sunday, and each and every Thursday at this time, we'll be joined by our friend Casey Joyner. He's from the footballscientist.com. He also works for The Athletic. He'll be working the live blog on The Athletic tonight during the game, so you want to check that out as well. If you have any fantasy questions, again, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. You can also text us as well. That text number, of course, is 916-339-1140. If you have any fantasy questions, let us know.
I got to check if I have any fantasy questions.
What questions you have.
Lineups while we talk with KC.
KC, thanks for joining us, my man. As always, we appreciate you. Happy to have you on. I've had you on in Virginia the last few years, have you on this year. Super excited for this season. Let me first ask you about Trey Lance. Any concerns about his projection now that Jimmy G is going to stay around?
Jimmy G's sticking around because you sometimes need two quarterbacks, especially if you've got a rookie who might have some issues. I'll go old school and say Jimmy G could be Don Strock if you go back to the old days of relief pitcher quarterbacks. I'm not too worried about. Really not worried about this week either. By the way, Lance. I have a thing in my paid subscription service talk about matchup points, how favorable the coverage is, and it seems how favorable your matchup is. And from a pass defense perspective, on a 1 to 100 scale, with 100 being the best, the Bears give Lance a 96 matchup point score this week. I think you're going to see a lot of passes from him in addition to the runs. It's going to be a great game for Lance.
Beyond week one, are you handcuffing those guys just in case they do make a change at QB1 in San Francisco?
If I've got a deep enough bench, sure, I wouldn't mind it. If I'm thinking of it'd be a good low-cost strategy if you get into a draft to say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and have Lance as a guy who can be a borderline one if things go well. And I've got Garoppolo there in case they don't, because Garoppolo would give you a decent floor, too. If I did that, though, I'd probably still get some sort of a third quarterback just in case somebody could give me some a percentage play to make sure I don't usually drop below at least 15 points a week.
KC Joyner, the football scientist, is with us here, works for the footballscientist.com, his own website. You can check out the Pay Dirt subscription service. It's fantastic. He also works at The Athletic. KC, let's get to some of these listener questions for you. Fernando on YouTube. Singletary tonight or Mike Davis?
Mike Davis has always done badly in this metric I have called good blocking yards per attempt. It measures how productive you are to get quality run blocking. A couple years ago, when you filled him for McCaffrey, he finished last in the league among qualifying running backs. The guy has no breakaway speed at all. I know it's Singletary in a tough matchup, but still think there could be some points put up since. I'm taking Singletary.
This one coming in on the text line. Should I trust Saquon Barkley as my number one running back?
Every report out of camp says that he looks fantastic. You've seen it in the past where a running back will get hurt or a player will get hurt. Their first year back, they're sort of back, but they're still not really trusting of their injury. It's like they haven't worked off the scar tissue and such. Barkley, though, in camp has looked fantastic. I think the Giants' offense is going to do a lot better than people expect. They got a really good receiving core talent-wise, and the new coaching staff is going to make sure that they get the production that equals that talent level. So I like his upside. I've had a draft a couple nights ago, and I took him as a one. I didn't feel bad about it at all.
There's another question here about asking, should I start Michael Thomas this week? What's your outlook on Michael Thomas overall? Because it was just a couple of years ago. This dude was one of the top wide receivers in this league when you're talking about fantasy.
He's a boomer bust player. My projections tend to downgrade boomer bust players. I wrote an article about it for The Athletic talking about how I take kind of the Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger strategy of trying to bake out as much risk as possible. So I generally tend to downgrade players like that. Having said that, if you could take him at the right place in draft, he's a good play as an upside play, but he might not play this week. He's got a quarterback who will throw a lot of contested passes to him if he does play. But if he's going to miss this week, I worry about if an injury is going to be bothering him all year long.
KC Joyner with us, footballscientist.com. The footballscientist.com also works for The Athletic. He'll be working the live blog during tonight's game for The Athletic. KC, Ryan from YouTube, considering the emotion, would you start Russell Wilson this week?
Yeah, I definitely would start Russell Wilson this week. I only have him 11th on my board, but I've got these different grades called overall, upside, and downside grades. Overall is how I think you're going to do overall, and downside is things go poorly. But when you go talk about upside grades, it says, what if things go well? And I have him at a 91.8 upside grade. It's one of the highest scores of the week, so I'm thinking that I like that upside there. He's 8th on that board. but I'm thinking I might even not put that as high as it should be because he's going to be motivated as heck to show Denver they made a mistake, or to show Seattle they made a mistake. And he's got a receiving core, fantastic receiving core in Sutton and Judy. And Ogwugban, the tight end, is probably underrated too. So I think he's going to throw a ton of passes and have a really good week. I would definitely – there are only a few quarterbacks that start in front of him this week if I'm playing for upside.
Got another one here on the text line. You can text your questions, fantasy football questions for Casey Joyner. 916-339-1140 is how you do that. If I have the Rams defense tonight, should I try to pick somebody up off the waiver wire before kickoff?
I'm always an advocate of that. Matchups they impact defense, special teams, and you can get really favorable matchups or really unfavorable matchups at times. But I still have the Rams ranked 7th on my DSP board this week, even with the bad matchup. Jalen Ramsey's done a fantastic job in coverage against Stephon Diggs. I just saw a post on Twitter. I think the numbers that he's given up are just phenomenally low. So I've got these defenses ranked in front of them. Got Baltimore, New Orleans, San Francisco, Cleveland, Buffalo, the Patriots. If you can get one of those, consider that. If you can't get one of those, stick with the Rams.
Ramie in Midtown wants to know, running back 2, Elijah Mitchell or A.J. Dillon?
Elijah Mitchell or A.J. Dillon. I like the Packers running matchup, and it looks like Lazard might not play. And now if you're going to Romeo Dobbs as your top guy, I think they're going to run the ball a lot, but he's still a second-tier running back. I still think it's going to be a lead alternate with Aaron Jones getting a lead. I don't think it's going to be quite a platoon, so I'm going to go ahead and go Mitchell because Mitchell will be a lead back.
All right, back-to-back rapid fire for you, Casey. Joe sure. On Twitter, start 2. Juju, Ayuk, or Gabriel Davis?
Juju and Gabriel Davis would be the 2. I like Ayuk as much.
Hunter on YouTube, Waddle or Devontae Smith this weekend?
Assuming that there's no change in Waddle's injury status tomorrow, I'm going Waddle.
Here's a question from a texter. I have a 2 QB league, and I have Tua and Jameis as my option for second QB. Who should I start? Both those guys are very intriguing to me, not just for this week, for the season. You were talking about boom or bust a second ago. Both those guys seem like they could be boom or bust.
They could. Winston, the matchup is tougher than it looks, and again, he's got the Michael Thomas injury, and then you might have a rookie receiver, and you've got Jarvis Landry. I'm looking like, okay. And Tua also, I think they're going to let him run the ball a bit more. McDaniel will include him in there, so I got Tua way higher this week.
Last one for you this week, Casey, and again, thanks for the time. Tight end, not a very deep position this season. George Kittle did not practice today. Zach Ertz is questionable. So if anybody is out there and they're trying to find a tight end to play this weekend, who could be available?
I'll give you some what I call green-rated upside players who are at the top of the TE2 tier. It means if things go well, they'll be a quality starter. Hunter Henry, Irv Smith, Hayden Hurst, Gerald Everett, Albert Ogwugban for Denver. I think he'll be pretty good. And even Higbee tonight, if you can pick him up, he could be a mid-tier TE2 start this week. Fantastic stuff, KC. We'll do this again each and every Thursday. We appreciate you, bud. Hey, thanks. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. There goes KC Joyner again, thefootballscientist.com. His Pay Dirt subscription is fantastic. He also works for The Athletic, and he will be working the live blog on The Athletic during tonight's game.
It almost brings a tear to my eye.
What's that?
That we're doing fantasy football. That it's football season. That it
fantastic,
kicks off
isn't
tonight.
it?
Oh,
I know.
Man. I hear the music in my head. I know we're not playing it. I hear the Thursday night football music in my head.
I feel like it might have to wait until the kickoff actually happens for me this year because
really?
It's just been so hot this week.